I think it's only fair to start with the Premier League Manager of the Season. The nominees were released this week. Ooh. Who's your favourite?
Well, I think Arne Slot has been fantastic with what he's done at Liverpool. But I've got to say, we haven't ended the season yet. But if Forest get into that Champions League spot, I think Nuno has done an unbelievable job. It's a big if. They've still got a couple of games to go. They've got to win both of them probably. But if he was to do that, I would say Nuno. I really would.
What's your vote, Tim?
I would agree. Arne Slot, I think if you win the Premier League, you deserve to win the trophy. It's a long, drawn-out season, very competitive. But there's a lot of football to be played. I'm going to throw a name in here, and the Tottenham fans would agree with me. Ange Postecoglou, if he wins the Europa League, there won't be any other name apart from him on their lips. Amazingly. He's had such a disastrous season in the Premier League, but it all boils down to one game in Europe for them to qualify for the Champions League. Right.
And that wins him Manager of the Season. That's how you want to start the show,
Of course
Tim?
not. Tongue in cheek.
Okay.
The man who's got to win it is the man who wins the Premier League for me, and that's Arne Slot. Taking over from Jurgen Klopp, who's such a charismatic figure. It was when someone was taking over him, I said, good luck. You know, you're going to do well to emulate what he did, but he's done that in his first season. And, you know, he's made two of their best players sign long-term contracts as well.
OK, well, as you mentioned, plenty of football still to be played. And we started off the penultimate weekend of the Premier League with that race for Champions League in firm focus at Stamford Bridge, Chelsea versus Manchester United. Here we go. Here's some of the action from the start with the first 45, obviously at Stamford Bridge. And there was an early goal. Manchester United thought they scored, Tim.
They did, yeah. It was a tight, very narrow. I mean, we're talking about a toe now offside there from great finish from Maguire, who stayed up there from the set piece. They were really good in the first half. Very, very good. I was worried for Tottenham, who were playing in that big match. I mentioned the Europa League. They were very organised in the first half, but Chelsea just come into it in the second period. And look about this technique here from Reece James, Glenn.
So unlucky there, isn't he? I mean, that is a wonderful technique. It really is. He's cut across the ball beautifully, taking it outside of the post to bring it back in. And Nana's got no chance, but then we see him produce this bit of skill. This is just a wonderful turn from Reece James here. Look that. You think he's going in to shoot, bang. Turns, clips a beautifully little set-up ball. And Cucurella, who's like a number 9 at the moment for Chelsea, scores important goals, gets himself in that number 9 position as well. And what a header. Any real number 9 would be proud of a header like that. It was a super goal. Really
beautifully crafted by the two fullbacks then. Not often that you see that. Marc Cucurella is now the joint top-scoring Premier League defender this season, along with Josko Guardiola. He's got 5 goals. Yeah,
he's incredible. I mean, he stands up, he gets involved, and he affects the football match. You know, I think he's a decent defender. I think he's had a slow start to his Chelsea's career a couple of years ago. All of a sudden, he goes away, international duty, to win the Euros. He comes back with a little swagger about him, and he's been fantastic for Chelsea.
Actually, it's a good point. He played very well.
Yeah, he did.
He absolutely surprised everybody. He was probably one of their best players overall, defensively and attacking. He did a great job there, and he's a good character. He looks like he's a good character in the dressing room as well.
He's a good character if you're from the Chelsea persuasion. Yeah. I mean, from anyone else. I mean, he's one of the most. When I look at him, he annoys me. But I want him in my team. I want to be his manager. I want to be his teammate. Outstanding. If he's on your side, you want 11 of him.
Yeah, well, he got the goal that made all the difference for Chelsea tonight. A big win for them. We're going to go back and get reactions from Stamford Bridge. Critical victory for Enzo Maresca's Chelsea in their final home game of the season. He certainly celebrated, Glenn, at the end, and that told us how important that win was.
I think there was a tad of relief in there as well, because I think at 0-0, when they didn't get the penalty claim, I think there was a bit of anxiety in the crowd. And I think he hasn't yet won the crowd over, Chelsea fans over yet, at the club. I think they're looking for a more progressive and aggressive football and movement of the ball a bit more, and they're not quite happy. They'll be delighted if they get into the Champions League, and tonight getting the 3 points was massive for them. I think that win is probably going to get Chelsea over the line.
Quite curious as to what he would have said at half-time. It wasn't vintage Chelsea in the first 45. Manchester United were probably better than them, but they were improved in the second.
What you go in and say is that, look, the positive is, guys, we can't play that bad again. You know, we have to get better than that, and we will improve. And if you score, then, you know, we've seen what happens to Man United. They crumble, and that's what they've done all season. You know, there's a lot of games Man United. He said it's difficult, always difficult playing Man United. It's not this season, to be honest. You know, it's everyone seems to be beating them. But they did play well in the first period, United. So they had to work hard, Chelsea, but they could only get better. And a little bit of skill there from Reece James just opened them up, and a fantastic finish from Cucurella.
How close is the team he played tonight to the one you think will play in Bilbao in that final?
Very close. Very close indeed. A complete contrast to Tottenham. Well, I know we'll move on to them. But it's a huge prize ahead of them. Europa League, to qualify for the Champions League. I was impressed with him in the first period. I thought it's one of the best performances I've seen from Ruben Amorim's side. You know, there hasn't been many to choose from, to be perfectly honest, but I just think they're playing without a centre forward at the moment. I think he needs to find a solution. Højlund is not the answer. The ball kept breaking down off of him. He wasn't putting himself in dangerous position to score goals. Yes, there's not a lot of service coming into him, to be perfectly honest, but he has to do better. He has to try and affect the centre-halves. He has to occupy them a lot more. And it's far too easy, so they're playing with a man down at the moment. So he needs to find a solution to that number 9 position.
I think also he's persisting with the 3 at the back and wing-backs. Looking at the amount of games they've lost, it's not worked, is it? Let's be fair. Now he's going into a massive game, the biggest game of the season. Is he going to come up with a slight change? I'm not sure he'll go away from his wing-backs and 3 at the back, but I think he's got to think about playing with maybe nobody up the top.
Yeah.
You know, the 2 centre-backs for Tottenham are strong. Romero, Van der Ven, they like to be up against players.
Yeah.
Now, if you've come up with a different system and you flood that midfield, I think that would cause Spurs a big problem. And it would throw a little bit of a change in there. I think they're too easy to read, the way they play. And they haven't got that system off to a kick. That system can hurt you big time if you get it off. You know, if you know everybody knows what they're doing, you've got the wing-backs involved, you're changing the play constantly. You're not getting outnumbered in that central position if you're going to play the 3 up the top. You know, there's certain ways that it can work and it can hurt the opponents. I haven't seen that. I've only seen it at Anfield when they played Liverpool and got a 2-2 draw. They looked like a team that was going to cause people problems. Liverpool couldn't get near them, particularly in that first half. I remember it and I'm thinking, wow, maybe they've turned the corner. And then they went back to the same scenarios the week after. Similar to Tottenham's problems this year, the way Spurs have played has allowed teams, you know, it's easy to play against Spurs, and they've caused themselves so many problems defensively. So, you know, next Wednesday in the Europa final, we don't know what you're going to get from that game. I really don't.
Absolutely, it's the box of chocolates derby, isn't it? I mean, no one knows.
Yeah.
The box of chocolates derby. Put that on a T-shirt. Glenn said that maybe they shouldn't play anyone up top. Is Rasmus Højlund maybe the one that should miss out for you? What do you think?
For me, yes. Like, he tries his best. You know, he runs around for the shirt. You can't fault his effort, but you can fault his ability and his confidence at the moment. Bruno is getting so frustrated with him. He's the captain of the club. And some of his actions towards him, I didn't necessarily agree with that. The boy's obviously struggling for confidence. But you can understand the frustration. They are very close to achieving something here. You know, if they can win the Europa League, it's 3 trophies in 3 seasons for a team what's not good enough, which would be an incredible return for you know, one of the biggest clubs in the world in Manchester United. But for me, I think Glenn's right. They have to find another solution. The spaces are going to be when Pedro Porro and Undogi run forward. As they do, they fill the midfield. So they need to be stretching people in behind, the likes of Mickey van der Ven and Romero. So they need to find another way without Rasmus Højlund, in my opinion.
Yeah, Glenn, overall, though, a big night for your former club, Chelsea, because it puts them in a great position to qualify for those Champions League spots. And we heard Gary Cahill saying to us, 3 cup finals. Tonight was one. They've got one against Nottingham Forest. And then they have their own European Cup final against Real Betis to come still.
Yeah, I think they'll win that trophy. I really do. I think they could. They've got through to the final in a canter, really, in many ways. I think this will be a test because it's a final, you know, and you can't be complacent. But I think they will win that trophy. Tonight was such a big result for them, and I'll tell you why. Because they didn't play at their very best first half, and you know, United were probably the better team by half time. You're thinking they they deserve to maybe be 1-0 up themselves. And it was fractions with the reason why Harry Maguire was offside. And then they come out and they turn the game round without playing at their very, very best and getting into top gear. And that's a great sign. That's a great sign for Chelsea because they've got one more game left. They know what they've got to do. They've got to go to Forest, and that's going to be a tough game. It really is. But, the energy and the focus is just going to be on that one game now. They haven't, they've got nothing else to worry about. I think the conference will look after itself. But for me, I think Chelsea will qualify for Champions League. And in the end, it's been a good season for Chelsea.
All right, Chelsea win 1-0 at Stamford Bridge, to enhance their chances of qualifying for the UEFA Champions League next season. Currently, they are fourth, but Manchester City are yet to play, and Newcastle also yet to play, while Aston Villa beat Spurs 2-0 earlier in the night. Well, but what a game, by the Blues. Very, very poor first half. They had to come back in the second half to perform better, and then took the initiative of the game, took the game to Manchester United and pressed them really, really well. And we're lucky unlucky and then lucky to score the goal that they did. Scored by Cucurella, who now has 5 goals in the English Premier League. But what an assist by Reece James, one of the best crossers of the ball in the English Premier League. Injuries, have hampered his progress in the last couple of seasons, but what a player he is. When he's fit, he's arguably the best right back in the English Premier League. When he's fit, he is that good. He is that good, and he showed it again tonight. He should have scored in the first half with technically top quality shot with outside of his right boot that he deposed. But then again, he was the guy trying to make things happen for Chelsea, and eventually made things happen for Chelsea, providing that amazing cross that gave Cucurella the opportunity to head the ball home. But what a cross! The highlight of the entire game is that particular moment, the cross and the finish, especially the cross. When you see a cross that is better than the goal, I don't. It's crazy, man. It's crazy, but that's what it is. Now, in Chelsea, we have to go to Nottingham Forest and win, and then to make it into the Champions League. Now, it's not going to be easy, but it will be a lot better if Nottingham Forest, draw at West Ham, or if Chelsea go there and score early goal and then relax a little bit, because it's going to be another tense atmosphere out there. Because we know what Forest is about. They're a power play team, but what we play into Chelsea's favour is the fact that Nottingham Forest will not defend deep against Chelsea on Sunday next weekend. So if they come out to play against Chelsea, even if they are at home, Chelsea can pick them apart. Their best way of play is always to sit back and then hit people on the counter, but in that particular game they need to win as well as Chelsea needs to win. So they cannot afford to sit back and wait. They don't have that luxury. They won't have that luxury that day. So it could play into Chelsea's hands, but Chelsea need to defend properly. They need to defend better, because Nottingham Forest, they are devastating on the counter with Elanga and Morgan Gibbs-White. So they have good players in attack, and they need to also do something about how to stop Chris Wood if they want to win that particular match. So a lot is on the line, but at the end of the day, everything is going to happen in the last game of the season, and it's going to be one hell of a weekend, because even though the league is settled, a lot is on. Manchester City, Chelsea, Newcastle, Aston Villa, everybody will be on it to win. to qualify for the Champions League. A game that was £80 million. I mean, every game was £80 million. So you can understand what that means. So I can't wait for Sunday. I mean, for that Sunday to come. Last weekend of the Premier League. I can't wait for it to come. It's gonna be one hell of a weekend.